Say goodbye to your credit card rewards. Greedy corporate mega stores, led by Walmart and Target, are pushing for a law in Congress to take away your hard-earned cash back and travel points to line their pockets. The Durbin-Marshall credit card bill would enact harmful credit card routing mandates that would end credit card rewards as we know it. If you love your credit card rewards, tell your lawmakers, hands off my rewards. Tell them to oppose the Durbin-Marshall credit card bill.
Craig is usually a fan of water cooler talk, but it's draft season, and that's all anyone wants to talk about. The Athletic has loads of articles about this year's draft, but Greg doesn't have The Athletic, so now he's filling up his water bottle in the bathroom sink, which, to remind you, is the sink people use after they use the bathroom. Get The Athletic and get the info you need to speak draft fluently.
Tony Dunn, ain't nothing to it but to do it, brother. Let's roll.
In a world where Carolina Panthers fans have an insatiable thirst for Panthers news and opinions, only one podcast roars ferociously. It's the C3 Panthers Podcast.
The Carolina Panthers face tough decisions as the NFL draft looms. You're listening to the C3 Panthers Podcast, brought to you by CarolinaCatChronicles.com, where every Tuesday night we chop up the latest Panthers news and opinions from the fan perspective. We've got mock drafts. We've got the Panthers trading up, going after a position group that would make my head explode. And I've got a draft take that's going to send Panther Nation into a spiral. It might break the internet.
Whoa.
You stick around, folks, but you got to hang out with me and my wheelman, Cody Lack. What's up, my friend?
Tony Dunn, it's a Tuesday, man. We are getting closer and closer to the draft, your favorite time of year. So many different options, man. Even though we are lacking that first round pick, it really does feel like almost anything can happen. Like there's almost more options than we would be looking at if we were sitting in the top 5 or top 10 like we normally are, man. So different publications are putting out their mock drafts. We're going to run down a few different scenarios tonight, talk about a few going-ons around the NFL. But Tony Dunn, you know we're going to do it with the best damn Panther fans in all of YouTube. You know him and love him. It's our boy Panther Pickle, Joey the Black Panther. What's up, baby? Charlotte Sports 1. What's up, Kyle? My man Jake the Snake FU. What's up, dude? Jorge Marcelo, the real C3 AP, and our boy Tim Estes. Tony Dunn, and never to be outdone is the man himself, the brand ambassador, Diesel Skills, who has been a faithful member for 15 months. Tony Dunn, ain't nothing to it but to do it, brother. Let's roll.
You see the cool tags that C3D's Ill Skills, that Charlotte Sports 1, Jake the Snake FU, Jorge Marcelo all have. You can be a C3 super fan for $1.99. And you can get those cool emojis that you can use in the chat, but also get access to additional content as we put it out throughout the season. And hey, it might even get you a spot in the draft party. Next week, we'll be hanging out on Thursday for round 1 because we have a C3 annual draft party. I think this will be the 10th, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. 24, 11th annual draft party. The first one was when we drafted Kelvin Benjamin. So we can hang out on Thursday night. We'll be here probably about 20, 30 minutes before the draft starts and hang out through the first round, see if the Carolina Panthers move up into it. But the big show will be Friday night, guys. You want to be here for round 2. And I think they do round 3 on Friday night too, maybe 2 rounds. So we'll be hanging out and watching those top picks, hopefully, as long as the Carolina Panthers don't move anywhere. You should have be there and be on time because the Carolina Panthers will be picking, according to right now, 33 and 39. So don't miss the Carolina Panthers selection on the 11th annual C3 live draft party. You can be a part of the show calling in at 252-228-5098. CK, great to hang out with you again, my friend.
Man, just happy to be here. Draft is around the corner. The thing I love about this time of year is once the draft is done, we're pretty much ready for the new year, right? We don't have as many questions a matter of, we're going to have questions of how do we fill this hole or that hole with the remaining free agents that might be out there if we don't necessarily get the guys that we're, hoping to get in the draft. But the questions around who are we going to draft become obsolete. You really begin to have your focus pretty, open to what is next year really going to look like. We can start the simulations on letting Madden simulate with the new roster what Carolina is going to do next year, things along those lines. But we still got a long trek, man. We got another 3 months, a little over 3 months before training camp. Which is another thing that we need to have a conversation about with everybody here in the chat about how we want to handle that being in Charlotte and doing some sort of a 3C3 meetup, because we didn't get a chance to really do that outside of just hanging out with a couple of the main guys here. So we've got some stuff to start planning. So there's some things to look forward to.
Oh, we did.
Big shout out to Charlotte Sports One, who's been a member for 19 months. That's incredible, guys. Thank you for the support, guys, but you don't have to support. Well, we appreciate the monetary support. I know small things go a long way, right? And when people see there are a lot of C3 super fans out there, that just attracts more. We appreciate any super chats and any donations to the show, but really what we appreciate most is your time, your attention, and your conversation. Smash thumbs up buttons, share the show. Longest running Panthers podcast out here trying to grow. We thought last year would be the year of C3, 20 C3. Did not turn out how we wanted it to do. Now we'll be looking into these mock drafts, but I'm with CK on this. Is for me, I know a lot of you people or people that are listening, people out there on the internet, that they enjoy this lead up to the draft. I like the week after the draft, getting to know the players, how they fit, how we think that they can work, and what we can learn about the team, like CK was saying. But now we've got to try to figure out what this team can do heading into this draft, guys. And look, there's a lot of needs for this team. Like Cody said, who knows, really? There's more possibilities than if you were in the top 10. You just probably go Marvin Harrison Jr. I saw 4 quarterbacks going consecutive, 1, 2, 3, 4, right?
Yeah, people think the Giants are going to end up trading down, or the Cardinals rather.
Yeah,
are going to end up trading down for either the Giants or the Vikings or the Broncos. Yeah, it's crazy.
Quarterback heavy. What's wild about this is that the draft could be dominated by quarterbacks, but then there's supposed to be a bananas deep wide receiver class. Like somebody, I just saw a story. I didn't get to read it. Mac from WFNZ, Mac and Bone Show in Charlotte. He said it was a good read. I just saw it fly across my Twitter just a few minutes ago. And it was just like the title was something to the effect of, it's like, this is the title. It's it's from Thor Nordstrom at fantasypros.com.
I know that guy.
It says my 10,000 word opus on this bananas wide receiver class, including the top 32 ranked with player comps and RAS. So it sounds like there is a lot of skill players going in this draft. And for all that expectation, I fully expect there to be like 5 defensive players taken in the top 15 then, because every time they say it's going to be offensive, or defensive, for some reason, there's always something that shakes up the NFL draft. So you want to hang out with us on draft night for the party as well. More important, or just as importantly, more fun to me would be that Friday night show. Cody, let's jump into tonight's show. Carolina Panthers face tough decisions as the NFL draft looms. It is a week and 2 days away. Not this Thursday, but the following Thursday. And I have to ask, what do the Carolina Panthers do? There are a lot of questions, a lot of holes on this team. And that, I think, makes a lot of people happy when it comes to the Carolina Panthers. Look, there's a lot of opportunity to improve quickly. But before we get into it, actually, we should probably check the odds on who the Carolina Panthers are going to be drafting. I'll pull that up soon. But if you want to place a bet and you live in North Carolina on who the Carolina Panthers are drafting, I'd go to Bet365. They're sponsoring tonight's show. They're offering new users $150 in bonus bets this month. To receive your bonus bets, all you have to do is sign up for the Bet365 using our link, which is in the show description. Receive $150 in bonus bets, even if you lose the bet, that $5 first bet. So you have to place that $5 first bet, deposit $10, get $150 in bonus bets. To be eligible for this sign-up bonus, you must sign up through our link, bit.ly/C365, or use that QR code on the screen. By doing this, by using our link, you not only receive the bonus bets of $150, but you also directly help supporting the podcast. You can find that link in the episode description. Cody Lack, what do we got tonight? You're the draft guru, and I am just sitting here waiting to get steeped in this speculation.
Well, listen, man, anyone can call themselves a guru, but at the end of the day, man, unless you are Dan Morgan and you have a through line to someone in that organization, there's no way to know. And there's so many different options for the Carolina Panthers right now at number 33 and 39 specifically. So I figured what we would do, I got this from Panthers.com, is let's look a little bit around the media outlets, and let's kind of put together what other people are saying that the Panthers should do. So that way we kind of look at our options, what people think we're going to be doing versus what our fans think that we need to be doing. So NFL.com, surprisingly enough, didn't give us any type of wide receiver. They have us going defensive tackle at 33 with Braden Fisk, the disruptive three technique out of Florida State University, and Ben Sinnott, the fast rising tight end out of Kansas State. We've been experimenting with drafting him on our free-for-all mock draft. He's a favorite. ESPN, Ladd McConkey, there's your favorite wide receiver, Tony.
There you go.
From Georgia. And also has us trading back down. Now, this brings me to my first question. If, a lot of people have us trading potentially down to pick up some more picks, or bundling those two picks together to move up a little bit. As of right now, what camp would you say you're in if you're going to talk about moving up or potentially moving down? Which one would be more beneficial to us as we're looking to get a center, a tight end, a wide receiver, a corner,
For me, the answer is simple. And with one caveat, I think CK and we had discussed this maybe a week or two ago. One of the callers called in. And if it's trading down to get like an extra fifth or, like these kind of back end picks or future, whatever, then I'm not really interested in it. But I am interested in moving back, like say 10 spots or something like that, and picking up an extra third round pick, right? Something that could make a difference, like a top 100 pick. Like if you could get a top 100 pick in addition to trading back for one of those picks, then I would be interested in that. I think there are too many holes or too many needs when it comes to the future of this team, both at cornerback, at linebacker. You can go down the list of every position, arguably on defense, needs some help or additions. And then you got to think there's only one wide receiver on the roster under contract after this season on the roster, and that is Jonathan Mingo. CK, if you had to trade up or down, forward or back, which way you heading?
Oh, dude, I don't know that I like where we're at. I don't want to move. Moving up out of the question, right? In my mind, moving up doesn't make any sense whatsoever. Moving back could, because that's when you see some of these how do you say it? I mean, some of these up and coming teams that have found success in the long term have usually done it by creating more assets on their team. And that means more draft capital, but that only means anything if you're actually able to draft well.
Right.
So that's always going to be the deciding factor here, really, is how well we actually draft when it comes to this stuff. So I can tell you all day that I want to move back, but we got to have some confidence in who's in the GM role for us to actually do that.
Cody, I'll make one more point about trading back, and then you can take over for trading up. I think this is like when we talk about potentially drafting, say, a center, right, or a corner, and then this need for a wide receiver. People get like, if you think of like when you say all of these skill players are out there, and then you're going to maybe take a center or guard or something like that. Some people might feel like it's sort of a reach in that way when you are sacrificing that potential reach for a good skill player where you need the help, where need and BPA often collide. But for me, I think when you trade back, so say if you were able to trade that 33 and then say have a 39, a 44, and a 64, I think then you can get that center and it feels like less of a reach, or you get that center, the wide receiver, the middle, a linebacker, and then the center maybe at like 78 or something like that. So that's why I don't think the class of player outside of maybe one specific player that if you're in love with somebody, to me, I don't think moving back 10 spaces when you have so many needs really puts you out of the running for important and good players.
Yeah, it definitely does. And it also depends on how strong the draft is at certain positions.
Right.
So, I mean, you know, if there's a bunch of wide receivers still on the board, well, instead of taking one now, maybe it does benefit you to slide back a couple of spaces and, you know, pick up on more players. And I do think that this is a good draft to do it. And, you know, look, I know we all want to move on from the days of Scott Fitterer, but I do think we have to remember that Dan Morgan and Fitterer were good friends. And that first year that Fitterer was here, he was moving down.
Almost too much in a way.
Yeah, well, it's like he was trying to lay the foundation by getting a bunch of young, talented players and to be able to build from there. Now, it's good in theory, but we didn't draft the right players, and none of those dudes ended up working out for us. So it makes you wonder about the other end of that spectrum, Tony.
What year would that have been that he did all the backwards movement?
Right. What year was that?
What year was that?
That was 2020.
No, he wasn't here that early. That was
21. Right, because I forgot that Marty Herney was here with Matt Rule for 1 year. Could you believe we had both of those two twits together? Good Lord, what a time.
Interesting. Here, continue, and we're going to go.
Did you have the odds? Did you have the odds?
I wasn't able to find them on Bet365.
The other end of what I was going to say, and Tony, this is the one that I felt would be interesting to put in front of you. Maybe let's do the opposite. Instead of trading down and filling a bunch of holes, maybe let's move up. Instead of taking the best of the rest, maybe let's move up for your favorite position, baby. Let's go and grab a tight end for your boy Bryce, for him to have that Greg Olsen type of figure in front of him for the foreseeable future. Now, Tony, I know you might not love the position, but he is a Bulldog, and I know that counts for something for you.
Oh, certainly, certainly. This is like this would be interesting, right? Yeah. One is I don't think the Panther. I think he's going to go too high for the Panthers to be actually in the running for him. But here is the thing: Brock Bowers would put to the test my conviction about what. Like I either would be solidified in saying you should never draft this tight end in the top 15 or the first round period.
Right.
And this generational tight end. But here's the thing is that if the Panthers did do it, I would be rooting for him, not only because he's a Panther, but because of that Georgia connection with my wife's family and stuff like that. So like this would be the real test case for if my position is right or wrong.
And Tony, from a prospect position, he does everything that you want, man. You can put him on the line. Dude, if you play at Georgia, you have to be able to run block and pass protect. Not to mention, this dude is dynamic over the middle, which is where Bryce is most effective historically across the middle of the field. I think that would be a huge safety weapon for Bryce going forward. And, you know, the reason why we're bringing it up.
Where'd you come up with this crazy idea?
I didn't even come up with this.
Yeah, I know. Where did you find this?
So this is Ian Valentino of the 33rd team who put this forward. Now, very unrealistically, he has us trading up with New Orleans at 14.
Talk about making it more expensive.
Yeah, for sure. But if you were to move up and only give up your 33rd and 39th pick, I mean, maybe that is the type of move that you do make. That's a relatively small price to pay for someone who is saying is a generational tight end prospect.
Are we missing we have the 33rd and 39, but when do we don't pick? Oh, we guess we pick 65, 101. So if you were able to get like a top talent and then you're picking at the back end of the second, basically, you know what I'm saying? You're kind of right in that same, if you consider the 33 pick a kind of first round pick, like so high in the second, then this is kind of a back end. So, you know, I mean, it's technically.
Yeah.
I think it would be expensive, CK. The Carolina Panthers, to me, have too many needs going forward. The idea of building a team, that so much is going to have to be improved over time and quickly in some ways because of how desperate the Panthers situation would be.
Right.
But also to Cody or to Cody's point is that if you are desperate to get this thing cooking, then what we have seen is a true investment in Bryce Young on the offensive line. And this arguably would be the best of both worlds in so many ways, is that if you want a receiver so bad, you've got a tight end receiver who could be, or at least are they're projecting to be like I hate to use Hall of Famers like Kelce or Tony Gonzalez or whoever. I wonder who the comp is. CK, though, before we get to a comp of that, this would cost a little bit. Would the risk be worth the reward?
Honestly, the moving up to 14 with the 2 second-round picks, I think people in New Orleans would be pissed to give up that an early first-round draft pick. That, I mean, you know, say what you will, but 14 is still pretty early in the first round, right? You're still talking about guys who have elite expectations, right? And you could say that deeper into the first if you wanted to. So I'm not sure New Orleans would be excited about that. I don't think it's a logical trade. I don't think there is a shot in hell that New Orleans is going to do anything that is going to help our team be better this year, especially with a division right now that some would say is completely up for grabs. The last thing you want to do is help.
Did he freeze? Oh, did I freeze?
I'm here. Can you hear me?
I think he started getting shot at in whatever game he's playing.
Oh, I ain't playing nothing. Can you hear me?
Yeah, you're frozen. Your camera froze.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
You're back. You're back. Welcome back, CK.
All right, cool,
voice
cool.
that makes a noise.
No, yeah. So I don't think I don't think anybody would believe that the Saints are going to trade with us right now. I just don't think that that's a reality that's going to happen. But I don't think I'm excited about the idea of moving into the first round. As I mentioned before, trading up just doesn't seem. It's even though the jury is still out on Bryce Young, the decision to trade up, if it didn't work out, is such a long-lived consequence. All we're going to do is for the next 4 or 5 years is look at who all was available at 33 and 39 and compare, see who is better than, because there is going to be players. There's going to be at least 2 players that will be better than anybody picked at 14 that come after 33 or 39. May not happen this year, but it's going to happen in the next 4 years. You're going to see that happen. It happens with every draft. So we're going to constantly see that comparison all the time.
Illinois.
By the way, this is 6'3", 245-pound Brock Bowers doing a backflip.
Yeah, man. Illinois Jones brought this up as he is a small tight end, better at the slot.
I mean, I wouldn't call him small. You know what I mean? Like for the position.
I've been trying to Google who his comp would be.
His comp is George Kittle.
From a size perspective, George Kittle seems like he's a little bigger than him.
He's like 6'4". they're around the same ballpark. Like give or take an inch, you know.
Let's see, George Kittle is
6'4", I think.
Yeah, 6'4", 250. You know, and to be honest, is like, I mean, you're betting on him being a dynamic offensive player and a receiving tight end more. Exactly. So, I mean, you want him to be able to do both, right? To not be a liability. I think a mock draft I saw had him going in the top 10 though. So do you know how expensive it would be to move up that far? I think CK's right. And on top of that, man, not only are you risking it just by moving up that far and putting it all in on a player, you're putting it in a position that I believe is always overtalked at this point in the year, where we hear that the next generational tight end, this generational Kyle Pitts, to Hunter Henry, to OJ Howard, to all these guys were going to be the next fucking awesome thing ever. And all these tight ends that are the awesome thing ever were like always taking the second and third. Yeah. Except for somebody's going to be like, well, remember Tony Gonzalez or whatever, or somebody like that. So
if we still had Marty Herney, I'd say move into the first. Sure. Go ahead.
Yeah. I feel like he should be a first round consultant.
I mean,
be like this. We just need you for a day, Marty.
You know, if we could have him just for that first pick, then sure, trade up. But what we need honestly, these 2 second round picks could be, I think we need to have them because I feel like anybody can hit on a first round pick, right? It's not easy, but anybody can you know, what do they say about a broken clock, right? And you're more likely to be right in the first round than you are in the later rounds. I think where Dan Morgan needs to prove what he has as our GM has to come with those 2 second round draft picks. If those are consistent performers in their first year and able to improve this team and seen as not a liability, then I think that that's a win for Dan Morgan. I think that's more that would prove more about Dan Morgan than trading up and picking a guy who's a stud at 14.
Yeah, you got to wonder. You know, if we looked at the draft order, the second round, actually, I'm going to pull it up real quick to kind of mock this, which I hate that. The idea of trading back, right, would involve a team that needs a wide receiver, really. You know, I mean, there might be another position.
Well,
you know, there
quarterback. Most of the scenarios is like a Bo Nix or someone falls to 33, and then someone wants to go up and get them.
So maybe you're talking Atlanta. Well, see, they have so many offensive weapons right now. Las Vegas.
I think that it's also worthy of talking about. Do you really feel like tight ends were a focus in last year's Tampa Bay offense?
Yeah, well, actually, they made the most out of that one tight end that we didn't even know his fucking name.
Right. I know they didn't have necessarily somebody who was like a world beater tight end,
right? But like Mike Evans was the guy focus, that was the focal point. And the point is that not only
why would we want to draft a tight end if your
system specific isn't, you know, you almost got to go back and look at some of those Seattle teams.
Yeah.
And see how important their tight ends were. And I don't remember anybody just being a dominant force at tight end in that decade with Russell Wilson under the Pete Carroll regime.
All those wideouts. It was that quick slot. It was, you know, when you look at what Lockett had been and
or even Marshawn Lynch going back, you know, I mean, I can't remember a tight end for somebody in the chat will figure it out. Okay, so here is I think CK and I are both in. Look, I think I'm open to moving back if it gets you something for very little.
Right.
You know, if it's a future third, I'm even okay with that, moving back 6 spots or something. You know,
is are both of those picks too much? It would to move up for the 30, 30, and 39. Is that too much? If it's
that's what it would cost to.
But
I mean, you're basically
that's too much.
Do you feel like that's too much?
You're giving up 2 late round, first round draft picks in my mind if you look at it from that perspective.
All right,
because
so now
there's going to be people who that are graded as a first round talent who are going to be there available at 33 and 39. And so if we trade those away, we are essentially giving away 2 firsts.
Okay. So let me pose to you another scenario, which for the most part, I would agree. It's one of those things where if the Panthers front office and Dan Morgan has conviction on a player, I'm not mad at them going to get their guy. I'm truly not. But at the same time, I see how your prudent mind would say, let's add to the roster. Let's move back a little bit. But let me present to you another scenario. Okay, maybe you don't move up, but maybe you take one of those 2 picks. And since most of our mock drafts that are out there have the Panthers taking a wide receiver in some combination at 33 or at 39, or maybe we still have the option of going to trade for a wide receiver. And it came out recently, according to the latest odds, that the Panthers are 6-1 odds and currently the number 2 favorite to land Brandon Ayuk from the San Francisco 49ers. So here's the other scenario. Would you rather use those picks to just draft players and let the front office do their job? Or would you prefer to go out and get someone who is proven, someone who is dynamic at the position, and someone that you'll be able to put in your offense and depend on for the foreseeable future? What do you think about Brandon Ayuk?
Interesting for me is, to me, if this is a pick for player, I think there's far less risk in getting Brandon Ayuk than there is in drafting one of these receivers that you guys are just showing me all these draft videos or the combine. Right. I saw somebody with the what is the guy name? The Leggett. And somebody's like showing him working out, doing a cone drill. And they're like, this don't look like Mingo to me. I'm like, so tired. Look at this 12-second video.
And fuck it does. Like Jonathan Mingo didn't have.
Right. Like he didn't look cool doing that. What'd you have to say?
I was going to say that, and you may have to remind me, and there might be people who can confirm that I may be wrong on this, but I don't know I can't recall any wide receivers coming out of Shanahan's offense into another team that has actually been good.
Oh, I don't even know any that have left either, though.
Oh, they've had quite a few people.
Like, trying to think of
Deebo Samuel's the only person that they've paid the entire time.
Yeah, but they've just.
Receiver.
I don't know if they've had big names though either. And I'm trying to go back to Washington. I think Santana Moss might have been real good with him. I don't know if he was back there. Here's the thing though, Cody, is if it's just pick for player, the answer is yes for me, right? There's so much less risk. There's so much, is like you got a player too. The other thing I think too is like what's awesome about or everybody talks about the potential of these players. And there's great potential. But they also take time to develop into the NFL. And while we looked at a player that they told us was the most NFL ready prospect in so many long years, and Bryce Young, and we saw that it was even a learning curve for the smartest dude and the greatest scores and all of this. So there's a learning curve for all these players. Sometimes they're just able to overcome it faster than others. So you have the risk in some ways of the unknown. You have, even if they are pan out, there is that learning curve, but the benefit of a longevity and the cheaper contract, the caveat, or I guess the perplexing part of this is not just picking player. You have to think contract now. Right.
Yeah, so
then you got to think is like, how much you're going to pay them? Can you allocate those assets at this time? The Panthers do have money coming up in the future. So if they would have to, if they're going to make this trade, Cody, they're going to have to go into it knowing they got to pay them. And I'll let you comment on that. And also, how would Ayuk and Deontay Johnson look? Or not Deontay, what's his name? Is that his name?
Yeah, Deontay Johnson.
Yeah. How would they look together?
Deontay Jackson, I think.
No, not Deontay Jackson. Well, whoever that guy is that we just got from. How would they look together?
Yeah.
And then if they did look real good together, would you have any odds of keeping both of them? You would have to sign two wide receivers at one time.
But that's what you need, though. I would almost rather do that than hope and pray for another second round receiver to somehow be a number one wide receiver for us. Like Brandon Ayuk is that type of guy. I think him and Deontay, Jackson or Johnson, whatever his fucking name is, I think they're going to be a good duo. I think they're dynamic. And I would love that, man, because again, like the amount of time that you have to fully assess the young talent on the Carolina Panthers, that clock ticks every single day, man. For Bryce, for Icky, for JC Horn, for all these dudes. So you really have to put as much talent on this team as possible. And man, you just upgraded your entire offensive line in free agency. Now adding 2 high-class wide receivers. That's what the doctor ordered for this offense. I'd rather do that than take another spin on some random wide receiver at 39.
So here's the question then. Because Ayuk is, he's been a solid player for them for the past 3-4 years, really, right? Every season he's gotten a little bit better and a little bit better and a little bit better. When it comes to his total yardage, I'll put it that way. Do you really think, number one, do you think that out of the 2 second rounds, they're going to accept 39 for him? Number one. Number two, he's going to be demanding a contract that is bigger than what Debo got, right? Because he has outperformed Debo multiple seasons.
I don't know, but I tell you, this is a good point, CK, and that's how much this is. He's never had 100 catches, right? Now that is an offense that they spread it around. Right?
They spread it around.
They run a lot,
run the ball. Yeah, exactly.
This is pretty crazy, though. I think this is insane. He had 1,300 yards last year on 75 catches. He had 1,000 yards the year before on 78 catches. Touchdowns 8 and 7. Is he worth? Those are impressive yardage numbers.
They're impressive, yeah.
The touchdown, is like you could see touchdowns being more if he was more of a focal point in offense. So I'm not worried about that. Deontay Johnson had 1,000-yard season. I looked him up too, and it was Johnson. He got 1,100 yards on 107 catches.
Right.
In 2021. So Ayuk, when he gets the ball, he makes a lot of it, dude.
Yeah.
He's making the most of it. Now, how much of that? My question with Brandon Ayuk, is he really that good? Which I don't feel like I should be talking any junk about a guy who got 1,300 yards on 75 catches. I'm not going to worry about that. But are you shopping a little hungry financially for this player? Are you going to end up paying him as a top tier wide receiver and him being
we're going to pay him that
or something?
Here's the thing is you've got to keep in mind, they are not going to trade him to a team that he doesn't want to go to, because a part of this trade is going to be required that he actually wants to sign the contract that's an extension, because that is his issue right now. That's why he is saying, that's why the rumors are he's, requesting a trade, which, by the way, his agent is coming out saying that that's not true. But you've got to keep. He is not going to go from San Francisco 49ers, who have been a contender with Brock Purdy on their team, to a team that isn't ready to go to the playoffs. He's just not going to.
Where is he drafted?
This is, I think, is his final year. So I think.
Does he get that? Does he get that say so? If we're the team that's looking to pay him the money that he wants. Unless he has a
he'll go to that team if they're paying
he's
him.
Gonna go wherever the hell he's told to, man.
Not where he's told to. Whoever's going to pay him, right?
No, but you've got to keep in mind, a team is not going to trade for him unless he's willing to agree to a contract first, right? And so that's similar to how this whole Brian Burns thing happened. When we traded him, they had already worked out their contract with him prior to us officially pulling the court on trading him.
Well, that's not entirely true. Well, that part is entirely true. But
that's my point.
Did the 49ers take the 5th-year option on Ayuk?
Was he
because if they did, he turned out he's a 25th overall pick. So if you then it comes to the question, is he going to hold out? Right. And I do think if you were going to make this trade, you would have some sense that you were going to be able to reach some agreement.
This year is basically they did the 5th year option. This is his 5th year coming into 2024.
So it would have been ideal for us to have traded Brian Burns or for someone else to get that year out of him plus the additional contract. Maybe that is a good thing for the team acquiring him. I think Cody, I don't think his destination is going to be his big hiccup. It's the paycheck. Because if it was the destination, he would stay right the fuck where he's at.
Right, but they're not willing to pay him more than what they paid Debo.
Right.
That's the problem.
But how many times are we going to flinch at these paychecks? Like, eventually, you're going to have to pay to play. Like, everybody wants us to get better as a team, but yet a lot of fans, they don't want to wait to develop these players the 2 to 3 years that you're talking about.
And that takes
we've
time.
done this for so long.
I think when we talk, that's why I get so irritated about the people in the draft. And they're like, look at my draft and doing all this. And I'm like, first, there's a risk of those players ever working out, right? Like, is that they're not a lock. We can go back and look at all the Panthers players that have been drafted that haven't worked out. But even if they do work out, there is that learning curve. This is an interesting point from Illinois' Jones. He said, if you don't trust Morgan, you'll want the proven a commodity in Ayuk. If you do trust Dan, go into the draft for it. It's a great point right there. Is like, the thing is, Illinois, we don't know if we can, is whether we should or trust. This is going to be his first draft ever. Right. And so every time we have faith in any of these guys, it is sort of blind optimism. And I went back and looked at this. Look at this. The Carolina Panthers draft in 2021 that they did all that movement. What would we have thought about this at that point? We went J.C. Horn, Terrace Marshall. Here, I can put this graphic up. It's pretty cool, actually, from the Panthers site. With that movement and negotiation, J.C. Horn, Terrace Marshall Jr., Brady Christensen, Tommy Tremble, Chuba Hubbard, Davion Nix, Keith Taylor Jr., Deontay Brown, Shi Smith, Thomas Fletcher, Phil Hoskins. Like, we walked out of that draft probably going, J.C. Horn, fuck it. Well, we did, right? Remember, he's like, oh, this guy's a fucking dog.
TMJ was the first round before he got hurt.
Brady Christensen, man, is like, that might be a steal there. Tommy Tremble, everybody,
Chuba Hubbard. Yeah,
I think we all knew that this was the fucked up draft when the Thomas Fletcher pick hit. Like, that was the jinx of this draft. And I tell you this is look, Deontay Brown, none of these guys, none of them panned out. They did play though. Shi Smith played, Keith Taylor played, Chuba Hubbard played, Tommy Tremble, Brady Christensen, J.C. Horn. In some ways, that's not a terrible draft.
Chuba as well, by the way.
Yeah. I mean, in some ways, if Tommy Tremble can somehow find a life under this new regime, and J.C. Horn can have a healthy season, we might come back to this and go, you know what? We got 3 picks, 3, that worked out. The problem is none of these guys have worked out. The guys who have played haven't been good. Cody, to me, this is the jinx, the Thomas Fletcher jinx right here, this draft. And what it reminds me a lot of is the jinx that still the draft or the player that haunts me the most, Harrison Butker.
Ooh, yeah.
Oh, boy.
Right? It's like Harrison Butker, you drafted him to put pressure, or I think you drafted him late. I think we did draft him late to put pressure on Graham Gano, but then you got you got scared. You got cold feet going with a rookie kicker, and you let him go. And then he turned out to be great. This is
that's one of my biggest draft regrets of recent history, dude.
Yeah.
The fact that we don't have Harrison Butker and who that guy became. Dude, I wanted to let go of Graham Gano then.
Me too.
I wanted to go with fucking Harrison Butker. I remember talking with you about
that. I mean, that was
block me, by the way.
That was a dumb decision for us to do. I mean, number one, you're going with a guy taking the older guy who isn't going to be as much of a long-term answer for you, and he's going to be on a rookie contract. You're letting that guy go like that. That in hindsight, man, that is always a bad decision. You brought him in for competition. You drafted him, and he did a very good job.
Like he was fighting in that competition against Graham Gano at the time.
It'd be different if there was a head and shoulders difference between those two, but there wasn't.
The only people that are going to disagree with this, CK, right now that are listening to this are going to point out. Now, Graham Gano did get his better seasons
after that,
after that moment. So they're going to go out and talk about the 63-yarder or 61-yarder he kicked at that moment. And he has actually turned out to be more consistent since that moment than he was before, right? And also, but the similarity to that, to me, in this and this comparison, CK, is that you draft this player to put kind of bring in the younger generation. Thomas Fletcher, you do this, and then all you do is you can keep signing JJ Jansen, which I like. I don't want him to not like. Why do that if you're going to then just keep signing JJ for the future?
I wonder if that's just telling you how bad Thomas Fletcher was,
right? Or how bad of a pick this was.
Well, I think
like
also,
who drafts a long snapper, period.
Oh, I know. Well, the thing with even with JJ Jansen, right? The thing with him is he has, even for his age, that dude puts in more effort than anybody else on the team. Outside of just being a long snapper, that dude is always almost the first person down the field, ready to try to get that tackle on the first, on that returner. Right? He has had a lot of major plays for us. So I understand the want to keep him in the loop, or keep him on the team. But I agree, man. We got to get younger. We got to be able to develop some people, and I think ultimately that has to happen through the draft. The idea, the thought is like even with Ant, he's talking about how a second round pick isn't that expensive for Brandon Ayuk. You're not, again, this is the same reason why Brian Burns didn't get a higher trade value. It's not just that second round pick. You're talking about probably a fully guaranteed contract, or at least as close to a fully guaranteed contract as you can get, and probably a top 3 wide receiver contract in the league. When you look at what his numbers have been the past 3 years, arguably
better than Brian Burns' numbers were for his position group, right?
Oh, for sure.
Ayuk, like I understand what you're getting to here is like, are these numbers but like Brian Burns commanded that and didn't even have close to the dominant numbers. Ayuk 1,300 yards. Yeah. Man, that's a freaking good damn season for a wide receiver who on an offense that goes run all over the place. I mean, and then Cody, Kittle, just the last point on Thomas Fletcher though, CK, is that it's one thing to move on to the younger player in a position group that commands a lot of money.
Right.
JJ Jansen, for all we know, he might be the highest paid long snapper in the NFL. Yeah. And it's like $800,000 more than the other guy. It's not like that Brian Burns contract of $150 million. You know what I'm saying? Like, so not only
at a certain point, you have to pay to play, man. Like,
it's like you're not saving money. It's not like you're we're going to get young and get 5 years out of this guy before we got to sign a contract. Again,
I really feel like people aren't hearing me, man. That window that we have to do something, anything with Bryce Young as a young player, as a franchise quarterback, you have to take advantage of that window. And that time is right now, man. By the way, if you're in the chat, let us know, man. Either YouTube is acting funny or we only have one viewer right now on YouTube, which is pretty wild. But wow. I think YouTube's been acting up.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. Well, you guys, if you couldn't find us on YouTube, if YouTube's giving you problems, we're on X, we're on Facebook.
Yeah.
We're on Rumble tonight, too.
Well, nobody's, there hasn't been a chat for 3 minutes, so that's concerning.
Yeah. Let me check the stream.
Kyle says one viewer is a lie.
2 viewers. All right.
YouTube's going through some issues. You want to do some cat calls, Tony?
I don't even know if we have any. Let me see. Let's do this.
Look at all the good people coming in now to tell us that we got some viewers.
Let me see if we got. We've got one call. All right, let's do it.
Hey, we only have one, so if y'all want your voice to be heard, it's not too late. Call in at 252-228-5098 and have your voice heard on the longest running Panthers podcast in the history of the world, dude. Tony Dunn, let's hear from these people.
So what are your thoughts on catcalling?
Yeah, it's pretty. You shouldn't do that to somebody.
And how did that make you feel?
Very uncomfortable.
So how do you think catcalling makes the person feel?
It feels good, like.
Who's that cat sitting in the back corner with his face buried in his nose? Who's that kid that can use one?
Yo, what's up, C3? It's Anthony from Charlotte. Hope y'all boys are having a Tuesday.
What's up, Ant?
Calling in about 8:09 here. To be honest, I completely forgot it was Tuesday. I've been so busy. But I just wanted to call and hope y'all boys are doing okay. And the draft is next Friday, Saturday, something like that. So, finally going to get some movement on the team, going to get some new players. It'll be interesting to see what happens. I've given all my thoughts up until this point on what I think the team should do. So not really much to talk about from that perspective. But I will say that I just want to bring something up regarding something else. And this is just for a couple people. And the people know who I'm talking to. But when you are able to acquire an elite player and you're also saying, well, he comes with this big contract. It's almost like, y'all, no one's going to take a discount to come here right now. They aren't. So I don't understand why that would be the reason to deter anyone from not wanting to come here, or like being like, oh yeah, I don't want this player because we're going to have to pay him. Well, it's like, guess what?
I hear you.
Have a great linebacker, you're going to have to pay him. If you have a great wide receiver, you're going to have to pay him. Like, were we not supposed to pay Derek Brown? And I just think a lot of fans are traumatized from a lot of the dumbass trades that the organization has made, trading for players that are not an elite caliber. And that's probably the reason that they've been scared off from that. And there's nothing wrong with that. But the player I'm talking about is Brandon Ayuk. And I know, yes, I keep bringing him up. Well, anything can happen. And, he may get traded. He may not get traded. We'll see what happens. But the Panthers are second best odds to get him. And I don't think that's a coincidence, considering that, they've definitely – I'm assuming they've done some moves behind the scenes to try to get some receivers. And we'll see what happens, man. I just wanted to throw that out there. Like, we're going to have to pay whoever's good. Like, if we draft that player, if we trade for that player, like, that's just how the league works, man. And I know we just went through this Brian Burns thing, and I don't want that to happen to any other player. But, yeah, those are all my thoughts. I mean, I like how we're potentially interested in that Michigan cornerback. I think Dan's looking at the right guys, man. I really do. I think we're going to draft some dogs, and I'm very excited. It's going to be an interesting draft. It's going to be a great show. I'll be with you boys on Saturday or whenever you're doing it. Anthony from Charlotte, give me your thoughts.
Keep pounding.
Keep pound. Dogs is what Anthony said Dan Morgan's looking for. And I agree 100%, man. Like, we're the Panthers. We've been the bottom of the barrel in the NFL for the past, 5 seasons now? Like, if you're ever going to get someone to come here, you're going to have to break the bank open for them. And I don't think that that's something that we should be afraid to do if it's the right player to do it for. But Deontay Johnson and go and get Brandon Ayuk, I really do think that you would have the makings of some really potent offense here in Charlotte. And I'm not opposed to giving up that money. And even to what Eleanor Jones says, it's not that I don't trust Dan Morgan. In fact, I do. If Dan feels like him and this front office can nail every single draft pick, I'm down for it.
Well, that was his point.
Let them do it.
If you trust that, then
right. That's what I'm saying. But I also am of the mindset that if ever you have an opportunity to get a proven top-tier talent, I have no problem paying that money. I had a problem paying Brian Burns when he was saying he was that top-tier talent when the play never dictated that he was. But Brandon Ayuk, I do think, really has earned that level of contract that he's looking for.
I thought you brought up a very important point earlier about the window with Bryce Young.
Right.
Look, is the window for any player, right, is there's a limit, right? And particularly with the turmoil that the Carolina Panthers have gone through. But then you add in this, is like basically there's less leash for struggle in year 2 for Bryce Young than he would be if he was a player that you thought differently about. Like think of like the leash that was given essentially to Trevor Lawrence in a sense, is like, because you have this belief in his physical skill set so much and all these other things that you go, oh, like, and his past, you know, so you can have all of these reasons why you can negate the six, you know, or try to push away the struggles. But the struggles for Carolina were so difficult last year, and not because of Bryce Young, but he's associated with it. Right. So it didn't, his window closed faster last year than it would have if he was a different type of player, in a sense of a guy that's the physicality or something like this. Then you add to this, Cody, is that you've got an unknown and a new coach, right? So like really Bryce Young has two more years with the Carolina Panthers to completely convince you that he is the truth, right? And this year has to get you closer to thinking that he is than farther away.
Can't just be, you don't want to see average from Bryce Young this year. You want to start to see
noticeable improvement.
You want to see flashes of the player that you traded up to number 1 to draft, even when you had other quarterbacks available, because you felt Bryce was the difference maker in a draft that had Anthony Richardson and CJ Stroud and Will Levis. They said Bryce was the guy. Now, because of how bad last year was, you have to go above and beyond to try and move this in the other direction.
You have to make up for lost ground. You have to make up for uncertainty.
And much was lost after that.
And it might not be fair. It might not be right, but it's going to be the reality. At the end of season 2, you will have a much firmer conviction about Bryce Young. It will be, and if you don't, then that's bad, right? Like if it's just like, I still don't know, that doesn't help his case. Then you're going in again to next year. You're basically then saying, okay, we can go one more year. We're going to try it. Maybe.
Yeah.
We'll give this coach another year. Or you're sitting there in the top 5 and you're going, well, maybe we should. Maybe we should pull the trigger.
What I'm saying. You want to erase any doubt.
Yes.
If the Panthers are picking in the top 10, you want to know, okay, we're going to draft another, a wide receiver or a defensive end. We have no need to draft a quarterback in the top 10.
Or even consider
it. We saw the type of progression from Bryce that we want to see.
That to me actually makes the trade for Ayuk or a player of that cap. Yeah, more important, because even if you put the 33rd and you go and get a wide receiver, like the odds of him, he might be pretty good. But is he even going to be enough right out the gate to help Bryce Young move the needle?
Well, I mean, with Deontay Johnson, I think
Ayuk and Deontay Johnson would give Bryce Young a better chance of moving the needle in positive belief than putting a rookie out there with him. Now, it could work. It could work, and you want it to work, and you would think, man, you might even be able to get a player that's better. But the odds of it at that moment, there's more risk with that. And right now, you really need, if you want to build, if you think you need to draft a wide receiver, like it is an imperative to get Bryce Young weapons, I think you really got to be open to the idea of going out and getting Ayuk. And would he be cheaper contractually than T. Higgins, you think? Or is he going to be?
That I don't know. I mean, they're probably looking in that same tier of contract. But Higgins just came out and said that he anticipates playing for Cincy this year.
Yeah,
So
they said they're not going to trade him. I heard that and stuff. But I think that's a great point. Is think about the window.
Yeah.
And you almost are risking more for Bryce Young's success by drafting a player than you are
that's what I'm saying.
Hoping
that another second round pick, drafting Xavier Leggett, let him look just like Jonathan Mingo for a year, if that's what, everyone thinks
Brandon
is so
LaFell.
different. But now you're hoping, you're gambling that he isn't another Jonathan Mango.
And you're not just gambling on him, you're gambling on Bryce that way.
Yeah. That's why I agree with Anthony. I would do this 1,000%. By the way, Tony, AJ Brooks put in the chat, resources have been exhausted is the message I get when trying to like the video. So there is some definite YouTube issues.
Man, C3 broke the internet.
Yeah, we appreciate everyone hanging out with us, though, man. Hit that like button, even though it's fucking up. But hit that like, hit that subscribe,
or go back and do it. Retweet. You know all the stuff, and really, you guys just being here is so incredibly important to me.
Yeah, man.
It really is. Like the idea of me thinking about what the hell we're going to talk about. I set the show up. I sent Cody a message like an hour before. I said, I really have no idea what the fuck we're going to talk about. He said, I got it, bro. I got it. I got you. Let's go and take another call. I think we got Kyle next.
Hey, guys.
Say goodbye to your credit card rewards. Greedy corporate mega stores, led by Walmart and Target, are pushing for a law in Congress to take away your hard-earned cash back and travel points to line their pockets. The Durbin-Marshall credit card bill would enact harmful credit card routing mandates that would end credit card rewards as we know it. If you love your credit card rewards, tell your lawmakers, hands off my rewards. Tell them to oppose the Durbin-Marshall credit card bill.
Swimsuit? Check. Sunscreen? Check. Phone charger? Check. Don't forget to pack the 5-Hour Energy. It fits great in a pocket or carry-on, and the alert feeling will help you arrive ready for anything. Now get 20% off when you use code 5HETRAVEL at 5hourenergy.com. Expires April 30th. One-time use only. Not valid with other discounts. Remember, visit 5hourenergy.com and use code 5HETRAVEL to save 20%.
Greg is usually a fan of water cooler talk, but it's draft season, and that's all anyone wants to talk about. The Athletic has loads of articles about this year's draft, but Greg doesn't have The Athletic, so now he's filling up his water bottle in the bathroom sink. Which, to remind you, is the sink people use after they use the bathroom. Get The Athletic and get the info you need to speak draft fluently.
Kyle, known as Charlotte Sports One.
Charlotte Sports One, what's up, bro?
You're doing all the right things.
What's up, Kyle?
We're having all the good conversations, man. I've been loving it.
Appreciate you, brother.
My biggest takeaway is we don't, in my personal opinion, I don't need a wide receiver at 33 or 39 as long as the best player available fits our scheme and is ranked and we feel that they're better as a player. I'm not going to get with the media and be like, oh, we have to have a receiver.
Or fans,
pick,
even.
blah, blah. I don't believe that's the case. But super, super excited for next week. Ready for some real Panthers news, to keep the conversation going and where we're going to go from here. So, thanks for doing what you guys do and keep pounding.
Hit us up, man. Check us out on we're going to have a lot of opportunities for guests to come on, fans to interact live and be part of the podcast. Not only on Thursday night, but the Friday free-for-all night will be the Friday free-for-all draft night. It's going to be C3. We're going to call it C3 draft party with a free-for-all something. So we won't just totally diss on the free-for-all, but like, hey, it's a perfect night for fans to come in on a Friday free-for-all and watch the draft. So come and check us out. I think this is a great opportunity. And really, this is stick around, folks. In just a minute after Cody pulls up this little tidbit right here, I'm going to break the internet too. I kind of agree with him here. I think he's got a point. Look, fans want a wide receiver. You want it. You need it. You got all of this. We get so hung up in the draft about need. And then all of a sudden, I saw Mike K put out a cool tweet today. Mike K for the Charlotte Observer. Go ahead and subscribe to the Charlotte Observer. You can get it for like $3, man, right now. And help small. Well, I won't say small. They're fucking conglomerate, but newspapers might as well be coming down to our level at this point. Hey, $1.99 to be a C3 super fan, $3 a month to get full Charlotte Observer coverage. But he said this is like, I'm not really into mock drafts and picking who we're going to pick. I'm more interested into the ideas that are going to throw the draft into chaos in a sense.
Yeah.
Like, it's like, what is going to be the thing that happens?
Give us something to talk about
that changes all of these mock drafts, because it is bound to happen. And Cody, pull this up here. The Carolina Panthers might be interested. Look, wide receiver is not the only need. It is not the only need. The Carolina Panthers need a lot of help, and they need a lot of help in the secondary. What's this about right here?
Yeah, so there is a player who goes by the name of Mike Sandstrill, who has been steadily moving up people's boards. He is a corner, and Tony Pauline says, so where could Sandstrill end up? People I've spoken with believe the Carolina Panthers at the top of round 2 are a possibility. And this is him listing some other possibilities, but we also know that the Panthers, when looking at some of the list of players that they've brought in cornerback Nate Wiggins from Clemson. They are looking to add to that defensive backfield. Tony, as we see more and more, I really do feel like one of these two picks is going to be a defensive player, either be they on the line or be they in the defensive backfield.
I tell you, I'm not really in love with this person. Now, hey, they might be.
But he's 5'10".
He's listed as 5'9" on the NFL on NFL.com.
The one I looked at said 5'10", 185 pounds. But I'm not gonna lie, he reminds me of Dante Jackson.
Right. He's a little smaller than what I'm hoping for. Cody, what I was thinking about, what would send the Panther Twitter into a tailspin. Look, I think if my instinct says that if we stand pat at 33 and 39 and we make those two picks, that you're going to get one offensive player, one defensive player. That's like my gut feeling, is that you're going to try to have two players that are impact, that are going to be starters right out the gate. I don't see the Panthers double dipping at wide receiver, even if people say there's a reason to and stuff. I think it would kind of be malpractice to addressing some of the other needs. But what would happen if the Carolina Panthers pick two defensive players at 33 and 39 and they pick a corner and that linebacker? Right now, that's what I'm here for. I'm here for it. Break the fucking internet,
Peyton Wilson and Nate Wiggins. Dude, I'm here for it.
And this Sandstrill guy, right? Imagine if those are the two picks. Imagine the fucking calls that would be coming in to the C3 Panthers draft party. It would break the internet.
Oh, dude, that'd be insane.
I'm here for it. I'm rooting for it just for that.
Yeah. Dude, you have to always root for chaos.
Yeah.
You have to, man.
So that's my gut feeling, CK, is that we pick one offensive player, one defensive player. I'm rooting for us to pick a corner and a linebacker. Or what if we picked a linebacker and a defensive end, and you're like, and everybody's like, what the fuck, man?
Oh no,
this wide receiver, Leggett, he's not Mingo. But when you like, man, the fucking, it would be awesome. It would be great for the show.
It would certainly be chaos, to say the least. There's going to be a lot of people who will, to Cody's point, I think there's going to be a lot of people who are going to look at this and be like, how are you even if you're a fan of getting Ayuk or you're a fan of drafting a wide receiver, I think we all agree that window that Cody's talking about for Bryce Young, drafting two defensive players in the second round, ain't it? That's not going to be.
I'm here for it, dude. I think it could. I think now here is the way it could happen is that if this wide receiver class is so deep that you think there are guys that are going to be there at 64 that you can work with that are just as good. But the dip from who is the Wiggins guy? Tell me about this. I know who Peyton Wilson is because he plays at NC State and Luke Kuechly and everybody and he runs like a 4.4. To me, this is almost too good to be true. And what I mean by that is like if Peyton Wilson is there, how can that not be the pick? And what I mean by that, you've got Dan Morgan, who was a stud linebacker. You have a history of the Panthers having important linebackers. The greatest Panther linebacker in Luke Kuechly is the tutor of this guy.
He's been training him.
Right.
He models his game after him.
How is Dan Morgan not going to make
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Now, but tell me,
who's the Wiggins guy?
Well, so tell me, hold on. Before we move off of Peyton Wilson, does it bother you that he has had 2 ACL tears in his career already?
Are they same knee?
I don't know if they're the same knee.
ACL?
Yes. ACL.
Okay. I was having a talk with a friend of mine at work who's a Panthers fan. And he loves this guy, right? He goes, Thomas Davis, you know? The thing for me, and then the other thing, and he is right in some ways, as he said this, is just because you've had injuries in the past doesn't mean you're A, injury prone, or B, like it's going to be a problem in the future, right? You can have an injury and then go on to have a good career. You can have players too who have never had injuries and then all of a sudden become fucking injury problems. I don't know what JC Horn's injury history was, but like he's not right. So it's not a given that he is injury prone. My concern with the injuries, Cody, is that when you have those major injuries, you're never really the same. So like, say you don't have any injuries at all and you go on to have a good career in 5 years, is that knee fucking a problem though? You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just like not as good as it was.
Well, and more than just his knee, apparently he's had injury history dating back to high school.
And that makes it a risk.
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. You have to weigh all this stuff, man. You want the story.
But the other part of this too that I look at is Thomas Davis did not, like a lot of people will talk about, like he had some of his best years, but he also became a different player, right? He wasn't the player that he was after those ACLs.
I don't know if that's true.
What I mean by that is, wasn't he more of a safety style linebacker?
Only for when he was coming out of college, and then they converted him to a linebacker. We actually don't really know what kind of player he was because the injuries came early.
Right. But that's my point.
But he did come on to go be like, I tell you this, is Thomas Davis first. Is he the first person to come back from 3?
Was it 3 for him?
Probably.
I think it was 3. It was either like he was the first player to come back from that type of injury that many times.
Did he have a comeback player of the year?
And then the next player that the same guy that did it was that running back for the Bills did it, who was from Miami or something like this. And you used to think an ACL was a fucking end, right? Like done. And then
it used to be way back in the fucking day. That was your career.
Right. But like AJ Brooks said, this is now here. This makes it more complicated when you're talking about this. Is that like, yeah, you can talk about these injury histories and all these concerns, but the fucking dude excuse me, my language shouldn't say that. He ran a 4.43 with 2 ACL injuries. Like this mugs, like, gosh, what would he have ran without?
Yeah, dude, the homeboy can fly, man. I mean, dude, if he's able to stay healthy, Wilson suffered a second knee injury during summer training camp and redshirted his true freshman season at NC State. He led the Wolfpack with 69 tackles during his redshirt freshman season. He made 108 tackles with 11.5 tackles for loss, 3.5 sacks, and 2 interceptions, and was named ACC First Conference. Dude, he received the Butkus Award. He is also a Butkus Award winner too.
It was Luke Kuechly as well.
Yeah.
to be fair with that, the argument of that being too much of a risk, it's almost as much of a risk as going into the season with an injury-prone cornerback as your number one cornerback.
Totally. Good point. I think this is what I would love about this. First, if Luke Kuechly believes in you, I believe in you. Right?
Sure.
It's like that to me,
say different.
That to me is like he's like he's arguably the most untouchable and uncontroversial Panther player in history. And what I mean by maybe like is Steve Smith, you could say they had that kind of decline for a minute, and then he comes back and has that second wave. He had a couple, he's beating players up. Kuechly, man, for the years that he played, like nobody had any question that he was the best motherfucker. Right? Like there's no hesitation. Like he's an untouchable. There's a zero criticism other than, hey, he got concussions in the career, kind of like Dan Morgan in so many ways. So to me, if he believes in him, I believe in him. The other thing I love about what I fucking miss. Panthers have had a history of badass linebackers. You go back to the first Super Bowl, Dan Morgan and Will Witherspoon combined for like 40 fucking tackles, some like crazy number. Like, you know what I'm saying? It was just insane what these guys put together. Like two guys like with 20 tackles. I miss Beeson and Davis out there just fucking demolishing guys. I miss Luke Kuechly demolishing dudes. And to me, somebody brought this up about Thomas Davis, or somebody in the chat said the most badass thing about Thomas is like he NFC championship game, which is wild. He broke his arm, and then a week and a half later, 2 weeks later, he's in the Super Bowl with all of that. You saw all that. Thomas Davis would fucking ring your bell. And I think that's why we sort of like Luvu, is this kind of reckless abandon. Thomas Davis, I have some GIFs of Thomas Davis saved of just him fucking putting people in the dirt. And he's like a Mack truck. Did you see it? Probably shouldn't make this. See that guy get the Lumberton video that's floating around about the guy, the carjacking thing?
No, I saw you comment on it, but I didn't.
They took the video down now. Never mind. But he would hit them like a Mack truck, dude. And I miss that. I miss a fucking linebacker just laying you the fuck out. And we haven't had it since Luke Kuechly and Thomas Davis.
No,
so I'm here for it.
We sure have it. Do we have any more calls?
Yeah, I do think we have another. We listen to Kyle. Here we go.
By the way, shout out to Illinois Jones. Appreciate you, bro.
All right. Appreciate it, man.
Makes him howl, a.k.a. Joey the Blind Panther. Yeah. You want to know what kind of team we're going to be this year? I could see it. Based on the moves we're making in free agency, based on what we're probably going to do in the draft, which we only have 4 picks, and we need a wide receiver, a center. We probably need another corner because we know J.C. Horn's going to get hurt at halftime week 1. So we probably need another corner, and we need another offensive lineman because it's always good to have depth. Guys, like the problem last year, we had no depth, especially on defense. But we're going to be the type of team this coming year that is going to be fun to watch because we're going to score a lot of points. We're not going to win a lot of games because we're not going to have our defense yet. But guess what? That's why it's called a rebuild. That's why, things like that aren't done overnight. Like, we're going to actually get better, but we're going to get better in increments, in pieces. And over time, it'll translate to the whole team, or it should. But, with the Panthers, I guess that's any team. But when you get one thing sorted out, another problem springs up. Anyway, guys.
Great call, Joey.
Wakanda forever.
Wakanda. You're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. I get it, man. And by the way, we have a great a great fan who just decided to drop a love bomb on us. Matthew Brown with the 999 says, I know we're all a little cautious when it comes to Dan Morgan. For me, at least he's making decisive decisions. He's dealing with the hand that Scott Fitterer left him. Thank you, Matthew. I think a lot of people are thinking that, man, that
Amen.
he's done good with what he's been given.
We spent a lot of time talking about Dan Morgan's debut as GM. You heard a lot of questions, or a lot of Panther fans. Look, you just got to expect Panther fans to be negative at anything at this point, right? I mean, and it's understandable to a degree. It's like this fucking long road, these coaches, these disasters. So there was so much of this conversation of Dan Morgan being connected with Scott Fitterer, right? And CK, we had it talking about is it right to have one foot in the past door and one foot in the new door? Should you just completely break clean? These different types of things. So there was a lot of, then you get other people that were saying, look, is Dan Morgan can't be completely absolved of the sins of Scott Fitterer, as in he's in that room, is he banging the table? Is that they're good friends, they live on the same block, right? So you can't just completely say Dan Morgan has no fingerprints of Scott, like just picking up the pieces entirely. But I think I'm with Matthew Brown on this, and I think we've been positive on this show. I've liked the vision that Dan Morgan has put forward, is that I think there's been a decisive goal and saying, look, is Brian Burns, we like you, but we don't have it's not the right time for us to pay defensive players. We got to get some offensive line here. We go and get some kind of, who knows if they're going to be great. The Hunt guy has been he's been great, which we have to go back. I saw something weird about him coming out of college. That people were saying he was lackadaisical at one point. We're going to go back and look at that. But his plan, his vision, is he knows he's got to figure out what Bryce Young's got, right? He has to learn more about Bryce Young, and he went and did the things in free agency that you actually could to do it, right? You go out and you start building the offensive line to help figure out if Bryce with protection can be better. And in the process, you're able to at least get a 1-year rental in Deontay Johnson, who has shown some flashes of being decent. So you add a little bit. I think Dan Morgan has done. I like just like he said, the decisiveness of the vision.
Yeah. I think that they have a plan. They have a vision for what they've been trying to build in this front office. And the funny thing is, we're not really going to see what their true intent is until we're done with the draft and seeing what positions they decide to prioritize, what they want to move up for. Remember, this time last year, we were having the conversation of whether or not they panicked when they moved up into the third round to draft Oregon defensive end or edge DJ Johnson, who has yet to make a real big impact for the team yet. So, how many positions do they feel they have to take in this year's draft, because they obviously felt they needed an end and they traded up to get one. So would they be willing to do the same thing? I don't know. We'll have to find out.
CK?
I mean, listen, I'm
you were hesitant about Dan Morgan, right?
I mean,
you were not that you didn't like him, but you were saying and maybe I'm wrong. Am I remembering right? Is that it's not about Dan Morgan, it's about starting fresh.
Right. That's exactly has been my concern with Dan Morgan from the get-go was, you're as we talked about, his fingerprints are always going to be considered a part of this team. The team that was built by Scott Fitterer. And it's not fair to him, but at the same time, it's also pretty fair, in today's world that we live in. Like, name another situation where a guy is a part of a regime like this and he gets a GM role. Like, that's why my hesitation was there.
Right. I also, my question though, is Scott Fitter, was he really as bad as we want? Like, is he, I mean, I'm not saying he was good.
You know, it's
right. I'm not saying he was good, but is he kind of the punching bag of Panther Nation at this point, because we have nobody else to punch? We don't have Matt Rule.
You're always going to be able to. You're always going to be able to make the conversation, and rightfully so, that we will never know what kind of power he had the first 2 years that he was here, which is time when he's on the clock. So if he was being judged for the mistakes of Matt Rule, then yeah, he was behind the curve. But dude, it also doesn't work when none of your draft picks ever hit in a real way.
Well, if JC Horn comes out and puts the seatbelt strap on, like everybody's showing him right now, smiling and seatbelting it, Brady Christensen has had some success. If Tommy Tremble can come together this year, you had Chuba Hubbard, who had a good season last year. I mean, those are three players. You know, I feel like this is Scott Fitter, and I don't want to go too far down this rabbit hole, but it's easy to talk shit about him, but he also was trying to negotiate certain circumstances. And when it comes to getting Baker, he's getting a lot of pressure from the owner, from the coach to go get Matt Stafford, to get Deshaun, and you couldn't make it happen. So then you got to get Baker. Then you got, the Sam, yeah, those things weren't good and didn't work out, but I don't know if it was just in a vacuum, Scott Fitter saying, I want to get Sam Darnold. I mean, I think there were other factors that also compelled him to make those moves.
Sure.
Right. They might not have been good. So I'm not saying he's like the dude or nothing. It's just the question is he the only, he's certainly not the only reason for failure. And we really just need fucking JC Horn to be good.
We really do, man. If he's able to shut shit down this year and play a full season and put the seatbelt on,
we desperately need it, dude.
Yeah, man.
We don't have the horses in the other positions. You know what I'm saying? Like, that would help other positions play more freely.
How about this? I believe if he doesn't finish this year, and if he ends the year on IR, this is his final year as a Panther.
Oh, without a doubt.
Oh, I don't think that's even a question at this point.
I'm kind of interested is what kind of season does he have to have this year to be a future Panther?
Yeah, I mean, what if it does ball out this year?
Right.
Are they going to pay him based off of 1 year of production?
Right. Oh God, what a fucking paradox or conundrum that's going to be.
I know, man.
All right. What else do we got? Is that it?
I mean, we have just a list of just some of the players that we know that the Panthers have met with.
And this is important, folks, because if you look at the history of teams and the players they draft, they rarely draft players that they haven't met with. So just because they meet with these players doesn't mean you're going to draft them. But if you are trying to forecast guys that potentially could be drafted by the Carolina Panthers, it seems reasonable to look at the list, because it's like 80. I mean, I'm just making this percentage up, but it feels like it's like 85% or 90% of the players that any team's draft, they've actually had some sort of.
Yeah, the chances of us drafting a player that isn't on this list is next to none.
But they have to fall. You have to have that trade opportunity. Right. Like, you're not meeting with Brock Bowers.
Right.
They have to be a player that falls or something like that you didn't expect to be available. So who are these? Tell us, run down the list and tell us who these guys are.
Well, I mean,
or
just
what
some
you
players
know about any of them.
I mean, just some players of note. I mean, a lot of the bigger name wide receiver prospects. So Xavier Worthy, who broke the combine record, is on the list. Jalen McMillan from Washington, another big-time talent on the list.
Wide receiver?
Yes, also a wide receiver.
Is that one of those guys? Is this the LSU guy? Aren't these guys like
LSU guy is Brian Thomas Jr.
Are those all first round prospects?
Yes, those guys are they seem to be first round talents.
Way to fan the flames of trading up right there.
Yeah, really. So they've met Ladd McConkey, they've met Troy Franklin, Keon Coleman, and Nia Smith.
Who are these?
Then they've met local people from the area. My boy Will Shipley out of Clemson. Dude, if we draft Will Shipley, I'd be one happy mofo, dude. That'd be my draft.
What about there's no Peyton Willis on this list? Do you
but then he was on the other one. We are meeting with him though.
Oh, okay.
He is on another list. So we are meeting him at some point, yes.
And shout out to my bastard son, White Chocolate, who had a great meme to Cody, which was the Uno card that you get the response on. You know, which is weird to me. And he said draft a Clemson player or pick 25, and then it showed.
He has a million cards.
I was crying at that shit.
Such an ass. So yeah, we are. There he is at the bottom, Peyton Wilson. We are going to.
He's on the list.
Wilson. Also, the center out of Oregon, Jackson Powers Johnson, who many people believe to be one of the best center prospects in the whole draft.
I don't see the Wiggins guy name up here.
Can I ask you a question?
He was on the other list.
Ooh,
he's right here. They had a formal meeting with him, and they met with him at his pro day.
When we had drafted like Matt Corral, like it felt like we had all of our draft visits in the same day. Like how?
Yeah.
How is this so sparsely, scheduled at this point? Because I mean, they had like pretty much every single one of those 30 players in at the same time, and they were going through like meetings and stuff because they had that.
Yeah, people are walking in the door as others are walking. Like it's like if a girl's walking out of your house.
Remember, they had like the post-production stuff or the production stuff that they did on YouTube, and like they were all sitting in the room, like they were how like a team would normally do.
Yeah,
I feel like this is more. I feel like that would have been more of the anomaly. CK, I feel like this is more the traditional.
I know
that's where they have spread them out. You're
right. I would have thought that as well.
Matthew Brown coming back for more. Appreciate it, brother.
Yes, sir. This is Dan Morgan and Dave Canales. Also, for me, bring the vibe of these two are not playing around, i.e., calling out the roster in a press conference. Yeah, maybe some accountability for once.
I think the interesting part of hiring younger people, unproven people. Now, this isn't always a benefit.
Right.
But you don't there's pros and cons with anything, right? You bring in somebody who's experienced, you get pros and cons with them. You bring in somebody who's inexperienced, you get pros and cons with them. They don't have the luxury of fucking around.
I also would like to say that I almost feel like we have a bit of an advantage by not having a first round pick because we can narrow down our search results as opposed to having to essentially have our 30, top 30 be pretty much every single top first round draft pick that, you know what I mean?
And then every top second round, like it does put a little bit off the table, or like you're saying, look, I'm really interested in how this Dave Canales hire is going to work out. I'm high on it. I'm interested. Like you could call it false optimism or whatever. I don't think it's good. I'm not like saying it will work out. But again, we've had this conversation a lot going throughout the last couple of weeks. To me, this is the right type. This is like, and this kind of goes for when we talk about those tight ends or these like, sometimes like the best players that you talk about, all the draft gems, you always bring up Puka Nacua. Is that his name?
Yeah.
He felt like he came to you. You didn't go get, you know what I'm saying? You
picked him up in the 5th round. A bunch of teams passed on.
And it feels like this kind of just is settling in the right way instead of us chasing Matt Rule and then chasing this and chasing that. Maybe this is the more natural fall to us kind of opportunity. But hey, I'm trying to find anything and everything to love. Happy, smiley Dave Canales. We're going to have the most happy, smiley press conferences afterwards. Dave Canales, always happy. Bryce Young, always happy. Always pop. Like, it's just going to be, it might become nauseating. We better do good or else it's going to become nauseating.
I tell you what, all of the female Panther fans are rooting for these dudes big time.
No doubt. No doubt.
They're rooting for them. They want to see these gentlemen up at the podium, if you know what I'm saying.
All right, what else we got? We got another call too after this.
But this is the final thing we have for the whole show.
Okay.
So it is from our boy Ryan Fowler, who basically rattled off what he believed to be the 14 worst signings in all of free agency. I don't know exactly what number this listed at for him, but one of the people that he listed was Jadeveon Clowney. He said that he's basically a boomer bust prospect coiled up in a frame. At times, he can completely overwhelm opposing linemen. Other times, he disappears for weeks on end. But you can say Clowney is playing his best football of his career with 11 sacks in 2 of his last 3 campaigns. He'll take on a new role in Carolina, where he's expected to lead a youth-infused group of pass rushers behind him, something he's never done in his prior 5 stops. What do we think about Ryan Fowler shitting all over our boy?
I don't think he's wrong.
Is it a boomer bust sign?
No, I don't think it's either. I think you're just getting a pretty good defensive end.
I'm going to be real. I kind of agree with him. I think we're going to love this, or it's going to feel like another Justin Houston.
He's not going to be anywhere near Justin. I think his floor is higher than Justin Houston's was.
Yeah.
So I'm not worried about the ceiling for these guys. I'm interested in the floor. So if he gets hurt, look, I don't think he's going to be a liability.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, I don't believe so either. As long as
like if you
healthy,
want him to be, if you're thinking of Jadeveon Clowney coming out of as the number 1 overall pick or whatever, then you will be disappointed. Right? Like it's kind of like thinking of Chase. Like if you got Chase Young, but now man, like imagine getting Chase Young if he didn't have the neck shit going on and the Panthers got him. If your version of bust is thinking about what Chase Young was drafted to be, then it's going to be a bust. But if your version of success is drafting him to be a contributing positive player on the team, that's what I think Clowney can be. You know, I mean,
yeah, I think so too. I mean, I definitely feel better about him than Justin Houston. But to me, it's like, you know, if you're a South Carolina fan, you're happy. You're happy that he's from the Carolinas. But I don't know. I'm hoping that we'll get the same amount of production. I would like to get 10 plus sacks out of him.
Hey, if we get 8,
if that's going to happen, I don't know.
If we get 8, we're
living.
You're lateral. You're getting what you paid for.
Yep.
CK, any thoughts on boomer bust, Clowney?
I mean, I think that's always going to be what any free agent we get. It's going to be the same with Stephon Gilmore if we end up going that route with him. I mean, it's not wrong. I mean, it's not I don't think it's like a make or break type of thing. I mean, it wasn't like it was a world beater contract that we ended up giving him. I mean, he got a decent contract. Don't get me wrong, but in the long run, it was actually pretty team friendly when you realize how it all worked out. You know.
Yeah, I just think if you expect 11 sacks, that's probably too high. You might hit it, but if that's what you expect, then yeah, he's going to be a bust. Right. But if you think, hey, you're getting a player that can come in here, contribute to getting the run defense better, potentially have 7-8 sacks, maybe hit double digits if things go well, then to me, that's a boom.
Yeah.
You know, so all right, let's take the last call of the night and then wipe some fools up.
What's up, boys? First of all, keep pounding.
Thank you.
Keep pounding.
My question has to do with trading for Ayuk or letting Dan Morgan have his first draft his first full draft. Do you trust him to make a trade like that, or would you trust him to trade up for a player like Bowers? Be listening.
Oh, I like the last end of the call, right? Is that by throwing in the Bowers, that puts a little kind of a goalpost for me to make the, kind of when I say trust him. Look, I think if you trade for Brandon Ayuk, as long as you're not allocating crazy assets, right, of draft capital, the only real risk is the money. I think is that it would take far more. I would be far more skeptical and would require more trust in me and belief and faith and optimism in Dan Morgan to go after moving up into the first round than it would to be trade for. I think Brandon Ayuk is like, that's not really us fucking testing his secret abilities.
Right.
You're picking a player that can play. It's just really about the money at that point. So the trust factor, guys, on Dan Morgan, and it's kind of tough to ask that, isn't it? Do you trust him? We don't even know if he's ever drafted anybody. We've never had anything like that. I don't distrust him.
Yeah.
But I would say there's more risk in trading for Brock Bowers than there is trading for Brandon Ayuk. Thoughts?
I mean,
yeah. You said more risk for Brock Bowers.
Yeah, trading up, you would have to allocate more. Look, it would cost you less money, but it would cost more draft assets. That's what Brock Bowers would cost. Is like you wouldn't have to pay him $1 bazillion, but you would have to pay for him in the draft assets. Brandon Ayuk, you wouldn't have to trade a ton of draft assets, but you would have to pay a lot of money.
Right, but the yin to that yang is that if Brock Bowers ends up being a damn good player, you get a young tight end on a rookie contract with a 5th-year option for the foreseeable future without having to break off as much as you would for Brandon Ayuk.
Right, that's the upside.
Keep in mind the value of a tight end, Tony, the value that you're getting someone that theoretically will be able to pass protect, run block, and be able to go deep for passes. Like that checks a lot of boxes in an offense that needs a lot.
You've talked about the upside, the long bet. Like that's like, yes, you know what? If you bet a hard 4 rolling craps, the payout is better than betting the field. Right? Yeah. The upside is that's all counting on the bet hitting. But if we were going to make the odds 6-1, 5-1, 20, whatever the fuck the odds makers of it actually hitting, I think the odds are longer in Brock Bowers working out. It's more risky than Brandon Ayuk would be. CK, settle the debate. Help this caller out. Which is first, when it comes to the trust level of Dan Morgan, do you trust him more going after Brock Bowers and handling this through the draft? Or do you think that trading for Brandon Ayuk would indicate more confidence in Dan Morgan?
So, yeah, I think going into the draft is giving more confidence. I 100% agree with that. That's kind of what I was saying earlier is like, it's better for proving what he's capable of doing if he's able to do that, as opposed to the alternative. Like if he's able to actually go after and get somebody out of the draft, that's what we've been missing. I know
trading up too adds another layer of risk.
It does add a layer of risk, but again, that's basically what you'd be doing with going and getting. There's still an equal amount of risk with regard to Brandon Ayuk.
There's less because he's actually proven.
It's not just that. I agree that
different risk.
It's a different risk because what you are giving away potentially a second round pick, maybe even more. I don't know. And not only that, you're giving him a contract that's probably going to be bigger than most wide receivers in the league are getting right now. So you're taking that risk on top of it. It is a risk. I mean, I'm not saying it's trading up for the number 1 overall pick risk, but it is a risk. And I wouldn't even say that it's that much of a risk, as I don't know that it's much of a, if I were to try to rank the risks, it's a different risk, but I don't know that I would make it much different from trading up into the 1.
Wow, I disagree. I find this kind of like, if we just think in money betting odds, and by the way, you can go to Bet365 and get $150 in bonus bets if you use our link in the show description. If you deposit $10 and bet $5, I think this is like, sometimes, look, if you bet the favor on the money line and you bet $100, you might get $90, right? It pays out. But if you bet the riskier team to win, you get plus money. Right. And so I think when you talk about the upside of Brock Bowers, that's the kind of concept of plus money. I think when you bet on Brandon Ayuk, you're taking a less risky bet already. And I don't know if you guys play Keno at all. Sometimes I'll play it. I don't usually have ever any cash. And I actually did hit Keno one time. Crushed. I had the best you could ever do on Keno. And not the best, like not the 10 pick. But if you you go to the bar and you look at the Keno slip, you flip it over. It has you pick 1 number, 2 numbers, 3 numbers, all the way up to 10. You get the most money if you pick 10 and you hit all 10, right? I mean, that's like the bananas. You win 250,000 or $1 million or whatever it is. But the best official odds, like if you look at 1-to-1 or like 4-to-1, I think it is, or something like this, that the number 4 picks, the 4 numbers, it's the greatest odds of winning some sort of money back, right? Like you have the best odds out of all the 7. I think the 7 numbers is the next best. One time, and I've never won at this shit, dude. I bought a scratch off ticket yesterday randomly. I never do it. Hey, loss. Fucking why? But one time I bet this Keno slip, dude, and I did the multiplier, which is you take and I want to say I did $2. I can't remember what it was, but I had the multiplier. The most, when you do the extra dollar, you double your ticket, you get the multiplier, and it's just a random number. And sometimes, most of the time, it's like 1, 2, 5. The best it can be is a 10-time multiplier. So that 10-time multiplier hit. I also believe that part of this is because I wasn't watching the numbers. Like if you don't care about winning, you win more than if you care about winning. So if you're like watching the numbers or less, these superstitions. So I did this and it hit the 10-time multiplier and I hit all 4 numbers. And I was standing outside hanging out and I looked through the door, like you could see the TV through the door at the bar. And I said, holy shit, 11? I do 1, 11, 56, 63. Those are my numbers. 1 for Cam Newton, 11 for me, 56 for Lawrence Taylor, 63. I don't know why I do 63. I haven't figured that one out. Hit all 4. I won $1,500, dude. Had to pay taxes on that bitch, though. It's like the best you could do with a $2 bet or something like that. I fucking hit it. That would be Brock Bowers is the 7 pick. Brandon Ayuk is the 4 pick. Back to the point. Cody Lack, we don't get any more football. 11 is for Brandon. You know what? Promise QS Panda. He said, 11. Oh, 11, the number. I thought you meant the 11 pick in Keno. No, 11 is for Tony Dunn. Born at 11 on 11/11 at 11:11 p.m.
Who is?
Me. That's why I got.
No, but who else? You said someone else's, right?
Oh, he put Brandon LaFell. His number was 11.
Oh, okay.
I sometimes do 22 for Christian McCaffrey. That's how I pick my number. Anyway, let's ice some fools up. If you guys ain't got anything else to discuss, I'm ready to get out of here. And this is, you introduce it, bro.
Yeah, I mean, the longest running Panthers segment on the longest running Panthers podcast, both historically and the amount of time we will sit here and blabber on any given Tuesday. But we do it for you. It's time to ice some fools up. Toughen up. Get your act together. Let's ice some fools up.
Ice up, son. Ice up.
The real C3 AP69 is always a good bet too. My wife always does that one. It does hit a lot. Russell, wait, what am I saying? This is our homage to Steve Smith. It's where we tell someone to ice up, toughen up, to get it together. Right? Everybody's fair game. We can talk football. We can talk about life. But we're going to ice some fools up tonight. What do you guys got for me?
I have a fine.
Okay.
It's just whenever you see people in a street fight, you always cross your fingers at the chance that somebody is going to get courageous enough to do some flying shit. And this one
Flying
didn't fail
kick,
to deliver.
punch.
So just wait for it. You'll know it when you see it.
All right, he's going to get.
So, boom, he gets stomped out. Oh. Wait for it. Oh,
it worked.
He came running in with a flying sidekick. Probably saved his buddy's life that was stomped on
God,
the
that
ground.
poor guy is fucking hurt, bro. Yeah, let's laugh, Dad. Oh, it's the second.
Stop! What the fuck?
Oh, he didn't even get the kick.
Giant sidekick. Awesome.
What the fuck?
Who are we
Yeah,
icing
dude, the
up
fact
here?
And dude, I mean, listen, if you're gonna get hit by a flying sidekick, that's bad enough. But to have the moment you got hit by one recorded for the world to see, dude, that's up, son.
That deserves a nice.
Especially doing a bitch thing like what he just did.
Yeah, right.
CK, you got ice up for us?
I do, and mine's again. It's the media. I'll talk about CNN, and everybody knows here I'm not a Trump fan, and I'm probably the farthest thing. I wouldn't say the farthest thing from a Trump fan, but CNN obviously right now they have the juror selection stuff going on for his criminal trial and what have you. And I got irritated because there was a video that they titled "How easy would it be for a Trump supporter to lie his way?" to lie their way onto the juror and to the jury. And I'm just sitting there thinking from that perspective, like, why can't you just say juror? Because you don't think that there is an equal, if not more, people that want to be on that jury to convict him?
Right. Wouldn't it just be as easy to lie if you wanted to get into, yeah.
Yeah, I don't really have an opinion about Donald Trump whatsoever, whether it's positive or negative. Why does it have to be
like they're speaking to their audience?
I know, and that's the irritation that I have, and that's one of the reasons that I think the media has lost a tremendous amount of trust, and why Joe Rogan beats their numbers on a regular basis.
I love Joe. So ice him up for me.
Ice up.
All right. My ice up, I got two for us. I did. We're not going to talk. I wanted to get you. I've been talking about that guy that shot and got killed and stuff like that. It's been a interesting discussion. But here, all right, we'll take some more potential deaths that we may find amusement in.
Oh God!
I saw this, dude.
This to me.
Oh, dude.
Look, I can go ahead and tell you a million problems with this image right away. Right, is setting up a swing. It looks like on a cliff. Now, this could be misleading for all we know. Who knows what's on the other side? It doesn't look like there's a ton of regulations in this region.
No.
But this swing, but it's a porch swing. And you know what? When I watched it, I knew something wasn't going to be good. I had no idea what was going to be bad. I had some ideas. It did not disappoint. I thought they were going to just fly out on their own, but it hits that pole. You got to put a seatbelt on that bit. Oh, God. Whoever thought of...
All right. Am I wrong in saying, why the fuck are you even tempting fate like that, dude?
Well,
why are you on a swing?
Look, it looks like two girls. These dudes are like, one of them could be a mom. It's like, oh, guys, come on, don't be pussy. They're egging them on. Yes, don't tempt fate. But whoever designed the damn thing, this guy pushing it, that's who my ice up is. Put a seatbelt on that fucking porch swing, bro.
So I take it that they had Big the city staff.
I don't know. I don't know what the over that edge looks like. For all we know, it could just be like a little roll down. Who knows?
Dude, the way their voices,
when I saw this,
went to terror in no time.
Everybody watching it too. So when I started this video, Cody, like I said, I didn't know what was going to happen. I was thinking maybe the swing would completely topple over, like top end. I thought maybe they could just launch out. I thought maybe those the chains could break. I didn't think of the most simple fucking problem. Like, this isn't even, you know what I'm saying? It's like just hitting that pole. Think of like pushing somebody on a swing. You automatically get that little bit of like that's gonna happen.
She didn't hit the pole. The girl on the left is the one that actually put her feet down.
No, I think the swing. No, the swing hits the post.
No,
dude.
Watch how far away she is from that post. Watch this.
Nah.
She's far away. Hold on
One.
a second. Watch this. Watch her feet.
I think she
hit the girl on the left. The girl on the
hit
left.
that back.
You heard the bing. You heard the bing. I did hear that bing.
And maybe she reached her leg out, like, oh shit, I don't want to do this. Hey man. So this
girl on the left, her feet is what stops the swing on the left side.
Yeah, but they would have been twisting in the wind like crazy people anyway. Once you get a swing going,
why are you even on there? Why are you even sitting on that swing in the first place, dude?
I know. This is Rockhead 81. He said, how about the guy who got run over in the Fayetteville trying to stop a carjacking and then got his car jacked and then hit him and killed him? Dude, they took the video down. It was so bad. I've never seen somebody.
Is that what you were talking about?
Yeah, and I kind of wanted to talk about it. Like, I don't have an opinion. I've got mixed feelings on it. I do think it's wild that he shot into that car at point blank range so many times and didn't hit anything. I'm almost wondering, did he have like rubber bullets or blanks in there by accident? Because like, I didn't hear no glass. Like, and then this mug I've never seen someone get squared up and run over by a car. Not run out. He got hit and then blasted into another planet. So square. Like that guy. Sorry. I feel so terrible. I should not have laughed. All right. So, but you guys can talk to me on Twitter about that one. I have mixed feelings about it. I don't know what to say. Here's my real ice up, though. I'm icing up Russell Wilson. This really grinds my gears that people have been going nuts about this. Russell Wilson said these ladies deserve so much more, praying for the day. And they're referencing Caitlin Clark going number one overall. She's going to make $338,000 over 4 years. She gets paid $76,000 a year, or $80,000 a year on average, roughly. So a lot of people have been speaking out about this. Is like whether it becomes about inequity, is Caitlin Clark, first of all, the reason that anybody cares about this, it was the same way for the first round draft pick last year, folks. You weren't fucking tweeting about it then. Caitlin Clark brought so much attention to women's basketball. That's why people like Russell Wilson or anybody else knows. I don't even know who the fuck any WNBA player has ever been other than Caitlin Clark at this point. Maybe I would have known one name 10 years ago, the week of the draft. But what this really fucking makes me mad about is like praying for the day. These days, look, it's not. I'm not saying that Caitlin Clark isn't like a sort of iconic generational talent that brings.
But people
she might actually be the reason salaries one day.
Yes, people are just now starting to give a fuck about the WNBA just because Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese are going into it.
The other thing, though, that really, and you look, is you could say this, is we've had discussions, or a lot of people will talk about pro athletes being overpaid, right? Is people who aren't sports fans like that are just kind of random. Like my wife will say this, is it's fucked up that a doctor can't get this money or something, or teachers make no money, but an NBA player makes bazillions of dollars. The market does dictate a lot of salaries, right? Or in fact, the market dictates probably everything when it comes to the economics of things. Is Russell Wilson and the market and the NFL, it dictated how much money he could pull. So I saw Will Compton from Bussin' with the Boys all talk about this, and he's like, it's not that we're triggered and upset, it's just that we're shocked. So I'm icing up anybody that, if like this, whatever, what do you call it? Faux outrage? What did you used to say?
Yeah,
Virtue signal? Virtue
signaling, faux outrage.
Well, why don't you
Everybody
Google
it's
jobs
that-
like middle school teacher and then fucking have some outrage about this, praying for the day teachers make more than $35,000 starting their first year. Like, it just to me is like, I'm fucking shut the
it's
fuck
just
up,
like that Bill Burr bit where Bill Burr's like, dude, hey, name your fucking favorite WNBA player, stupid. Name me one.
Yeah.
Name me one player that you've ever supported. And then, forever, women, like, dude, men were the only people even supporting the WNBA. Women didn't even watch it. So it's incredible to me that now people are bitching about the money when it's like now
the word deserve. I think it was deserve that sent me kind of overboard. Right? Is if now Russell Wilson, if he would have made this same tweet and he would have talked about how is the inequities in gender and the in professions. Wow, the NBA might not be the best place to see it. Across the board. Women make, like sociologists, this is a 10-year-old statistic. It's like 77 cents less on men at the same position, right? So if you were trying to talk about the overall inequities that gender has in the professional world, I don't think the NBA and the WNBA is the place to do it.
No, that's not the right one to do.
Say you deserve, to me, that's what fucking sent me overboard, because then I would say Google middle school teacher, look at their salary, and you know what you would say? They deserve more. Praying for the day, Russell Wilson. Fuck you. I'm back to hating Russell Wilson. Yes. Ice up, Russell Wilson.
Ice up.
All right. That's the C3 Panthers podcast, brought to you by CarolinaCatChronicles.com, where every Tuesday night we chop up the latest Panthers news and opinions from the fan perspective. This week on Friday, we've got the Friday free-for-all coming up. Next week, we got the Tuesday show leading up to the draft, but special coverage of the NFL draft on Thursday and Friday night. And sometimes the boys will even talk us into doing it on Saturday. Guys, come hang out with the C3 Panthers podcast. This is the 11th annual C3 draft night party. You know what? I'm going to give away some of the Panthers draft hats. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go buy some this week, or at least allocate some money to mail them to you from NFL.com. For hanging out with us, guess what? There'll be guaranteed 2 of them given to C3 Superfans. How about that? I'm guaranteeing it right now. Mark down my words. C3 Superfans, $1.99 a month. You're automatically, there's 2 given away. Then I'll open up the third to everybody. But then they get a third chance too. Cody Lack, it's always been great. CK, love you. Oh, thinking of Joe Riolano. Doing a little bit better. So that's good.
Good.
Cody Lack, take us out of here, brother.
C3 Nation, you know we love you. Until next time, keep pounding.
When you make decisions for your company, you look for the no-brainers. And if you have a lot of mailing to do, Stamps.com is the ultimate no-brainer. Mail checks, invoices, documents, and everything you need to keep your business running. Get rates up to 89% off USPS and UPS. And with the mobile app, you can take care of mailing on the go. Make the same no-brainer decisions as over 1 million other businesses with Stamps.com. Sign up at Stamps.com with code PROGRAM for a special offer. That's Stamps.com, code PROGRAM.
Greg is usually a fan of water cooler talk, but it's draft season, and that's all anyone wants to talk about. The Athletic has loads of articles about this year's draft, but Greg doesn't have The Athletic, so now he's filling up his water bottle in the bathroom sink. Which, to remind you, is the sink people use after they use the bathroom. Get The Athletic and get the info you need to speak draft fluently.